All right, what's up, Fog Boys and Girls? I hope you guys have been getting the hatch or closing it. We wanted to come at you guys today with something a little more low key than our usual tomfuckery. So today we're rolling in with just realizing that there's a lot of community issues or questions that we would like to give our opinions and throw them out into the world, and we would love to hear your guys' down in that comment section. But today we wanted to take a moment and specifically talk about, is there a social contract when it comes to playing Dead by Daylight? Kind of a little more specifically, when you're playing killer versus survivor, does the killer have to let the survivor survive, and does the survivor have to let the killers kill them? But obviously not like farming, just like as a concept. So I wanted to go ahead and pass it over to Connor, who he thinks that there is a social contract, and I want to hear his thoughts on that.
Hey, well, so first off, I want to kind of preface this by I think if you're playing any sort of a multiplayer game online with other people, there's always a bit of a social contract in there. For example, when you go into like a game of like Call of Duty, or if you go into like Overwatch or something, you're expecting to play, against other people who are going to also try and win the objective, whatever it is at the main time. I think of that it's expected, like, if a player is griefing by like not helping their team, or if they're actively being detrimental to the game, that's typically like breaking the social contract there. You're suddenly not getting what you came into the game to get out of it. I think that can be a bit true for Dead by Daylight, especially. Sometimes that can either be in, you have survivors all trying to farm with you, or you have a killer that's just face camping whoever they find, or, intentionally going AFK or DCing after, just being the first person down, things like that. I do think that there's a bit of etiquette that should be followed, like, hey, you're survivors, your idea is trying to survive. You're a killer, you're trying to kill them. But in the end, it is also a game, so it is good for people to remember that there are other people on the end of that. You do want to have some balance of like fun and like give and take on each side. So I think that's kind of where the social contract comes in. If anybody has anything they want to add to that.
I completely agree. I think that there is a social contract when it comes to like whatever game you're playing. Unless it's like a one-player game, then it's kind of a contract with yourself, and that doesn't really make sense.
Sure.
But with like you were saying, like if you were playing like an online game like Halo or Call of Duty, spawn killing, that's very frowned upon, and you get acknowledged for doing that, and you can get kicked and banned and stuff. So I would say that like even things that aren't like, it may be allowed technically in the game, but there are certain things that are not liked by a lot of other people who play those games.
Yeah, I feel like the rule is just like, don't be a dick. Like just play the game fair and don't like take advantage of it in any way that you see possible. Like try to actually have a good game, whether you win or lose. Like you should feel like, oh yeah, that was good. Like that just sucked. Like you shouldn't do that again.
I mean, if you play Dead by Daylight and expect to get out every game or get a 4K every game, you're playing the wrong game. I think a lot of the people who've been playing for years at this point have all realized that like sometimes the best games you play are when you die. Sometimes the best games you play are when you get tunneled. And if you just give up, or if you just DC, or if you just die, like pull yourself off the first hook, like or try to kill yourself, then you're never going to know that opportunity. But one thing that came to mind was when Connor was talking, like a lot of the stuff that Connor was going through and that James also mentioned, is do you guys think that the game devs have to instill and like force there to be a social contract? So like Dead by Daylight, was it a couple months or was it a year ago they added the a DC stipulation where you lose time, you can't log back in if you disconnect. Like, do they have to do that, or is that something that maybe they're overstepping their boundary, or maybe that is needed. Like, what do you guys think about that?
I thought it was good. There's like a lot of DC before that. And then they put in this 5-minute thing. And even 5 minutes isn't that long. It's not a big deal at all. But just that extra 5 minutes just deters people from DCing so much. Like, now you actually have a penalty besides just losing Pip. Because that like, once you play the game enough, like, it doesn't really matter if you Pip or not. So then people will just be like, I don't want to play this DC. It's like, oh, dude. It was like, you either barely started, or the game was going well, and then you just killed yourself. I was like, don't do that. And then this extra like 5-minute thing, yeah, it's the new thing that they added, I think a couple months ago. And like, there's been so many less DCs. It still happens, but like, just not as often.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an issue that we've been running into as of recent, though, is that because they've taken away that stipulation now if you DC. So there is no penalty if you do decide to do that.
Oh, they
yeah, and I've noticed, like, I've been seeing a lot more DCs when playing on killer or survivor side. You know, people are just going back to the same old ways, and I think it's a fair thing to have, and I don't think that that's overstepping your boundaries, because the way I look at it is that if you have a single person DC, let's just assume they're survivors. Suddenly that one person is ruining a game for the people, because you have 3 survivors have queued for maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes to get into a game, only to have it ruined by one teammate just leaving. And then a killer is now suddenly like, well, this is one person down, that's less points I can get, and suddenly the balance is lopsided in the game. And unlike, you know, certain other, like I know Overwatch, for example, like, they'll find you a teammate like mid-match. Dead by Daylight can't really do that, and that's kind of honestly, that's just how the game is. They couldn't really find a good way to get somebody in mid-game. So I really don't think they would be overstepping their boundaries that way.
That would be an interesting add-on if someone could just jump in mid-game, like parachute in.
Yeah, I know on the mobile, from my understanding, is they have bots in for when players DC, which I honestly don't think is a bad gap method. I think honestly it's better than nothing.
Yeah, but when I get farmed by a bot, I'm gonna roast the devs on Twitter. I'm not even gonna lie about that. If I farm a bot, that's different. It's like a bot has unbreakable and decisive, and you're playing killer and you're getting rolled. Oh.
So I think you said earlier, Connor, made me think about when the last tome we had before this tome. I was playing a game, and it was going really well. And towards the end, the tome challenges can get pretty ridiculous. I mean, there was hitting 15 people with hatchets in the game, like in one game, and that was just brutal because, like, I'm not very good at throwing hatchets. So when, you know, I have 13 down, and then I get quadruple DC'd, which didn't actually happen, but theoretically it could, and then the game's over, and I can't do anything about that. Or more realistically, this did happen. I was trying to get the Pyramid Head Adept, and to get an Adept, it's very hard now. It used to be a lot easier, just like kill everybody, but now you have to basically hook everybody the max amount of times, get the max amount of chase points and brutality points and so much. And I was doing really well, and then someone got mad that I was doing really well. And, you know, maybe there was like a little bit of towing or a little bit of camping, but, you know, I can't tell. I'm not that good of a killer. And he seed, and then I lost my chance to get an Adept because I hadn't hooked him yet. Like, I had just found him and downed him. And that really sucked. I feel like I wasted just a ton of time. Then I have to load back into a queue and try again. And certain killers have a really hard Adepts to do. Like, Pyramid Head doesn't really have a lot in his kit. His ability's not bad, but like his perks aren't that great. So I know for me that was really tough.
Yeah, also, if they're gonna change the killer Adepts to you have to double pip, I feel like they should do that with survivors as well. The survivor one's not really a challenge. I feel like it's much better.
Yeah, I definitely agree, but I think that's maybe something we could talk about for like another video.
Oh yeah.
I do kind of agree with you on that, James, because it's like, I know people were complaining about, I believe it was Tome 1 had to hook 4 people in the basement throughout the game.
Yep.
And, you know, the people were, you know, tweeting at the devs like, hey, this is a really stupid challenge. And I don't think they were really looking back at the player base being like, hey, we should kind of take some responsibility for this too, because it's literally like, you know, survivors are DCing. That's what's robbing people of it. It's not that the killers are bad. And I do think that that is one case where, yeah, devs could institute the penalty for DCing, but I think that's also a thing where the player base, like, we have to realize, like, that's not an okay behavior to do.
Yeah. It's gonna happen no matter what, though.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people do get that, but there's enough people in the community, it's still an issue.
I think it's part of the social contract. Like, not trying to just pull it back to like the "you said the name of the movie" kind of thing, but like,
yeah,
you know, if you're about to get hooked in the basement and you're the fourth person, you don't DC. Like, you let that guy get his daily or his tome done, because that's you just lost. You let him do that. Like, I think that's where it comes back to. It's like, I wouldn't say that there's a ton of toxicity in the community. I would say that when there is toxicity, it is potent. Like, it is usually a group of people being toxic, or it's like it springs off into an argument. And I believe that, at least myself, I believe all of us have gotten in those before. But I think that the devs don't have a responsibility in that exact moment to like punish people for DCing or for how that tome was designed. But they need to be more conscious and moving into the future about how that's done, realizing that they have a community of toddlers who are going to, oh, I'm the fourth person? Well, fuck this guy. I didn't like that he didn't camp me or tunnel me, so I guess I'm going to DC on him. So, just one thought of mine on that.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we've kind of beaten this particular horse a little bit. You know, we've kind of gotten what we need out of this conversation, but I think maybe something we could move on to is, you know, we've talked a lot about like killer versus survivor side. We talked a bit about gambling and tunneling. You know, how do y'all feel about like teabagging and BMing in a game? How that kind of relates to like how people should act? You know, should killers like smack the survivor when they're on the hook? You know, should people be teabagging, BMing in the game? You know, how do y'all feel about that?
I think it's kind of funny, to be honest. Even though it's awful, I don't know. There's sometimes where sometimes the teabagging can be tasteful, but then there's sometimes it's like, all right, you're just being a fuck.
I think my only answer to that is, if you teabag somebody and then they face camp you, is that fair?
Oh, so earned.
And I think that is completely. I think that toxicity breeds toxicity. Like, I don't think it's completely fair to say that teabagging is completely toxic, because, I mean, like, it's one thing to do it to somebody you completely rolled at an exit gate. It's another thing to do it to a guy who just finished face camping you, and like you got to the exit gate and you teabagged him. Like, that's toxicity breeding toxicity. It's like, if you're gonna give it, you accept what gets given back. And
yeah,
there's a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot, but like, you see good examples of it online where somebody's gonna do that. They click their flashlight, they pallet stun you at every pallet, and then you down them and they go LOL trash killer when no one wants to save them on their first hook. And you know, I think that I'm with and against Evan. Like, I don't think you should teabag just because, like, oh, I got that pallet stun. Like, fuck you. It's not like that. But like, I think that it can. I agree with Evan. It can be tasteful.
Yeah, I agree with that. Honestly, I think it's good to. I think it's nice to have that option of like, hey, if somebody's being toxic to you, you can be toxic back. I will totally admit I have teabagged. I hate when people do it to me. I will occasionally do it too when I have like a face camping Bubba, or I have somebody who has just been tunneling me down the whole game and I managed to escape. I will do that. I will also admit I've used teabagging to try and lure the killer towards me away from teammates, because I'm like, okay, the person's gonna see me doing this, they're gonna get pissed and come after me. As much as I hate the idea of it, I do think teabagging can be almost useful tool for survivors to like help distract the killer, take them away from something, because if you appeal to that, you know, inner animalistic part of the player who's playing and you piss them off, they start going for you, you know, that can help you out long run. But yeah, at the end of it, if you end up getting, you know, camped, tunneled, whatever, you should kind of also expect that. You know, shouldn't complain about it at the end.
I think it's different between a survivor and a killer in terms of BMing, like whether it's okay or not. I feel like as a survivor, like Jacob said earlier, if you're BMing at the exit gate, that could be a tactical situation where you're trying to lure him over and then hit you out so that the other people can get out, or lure you over in general, like Connor was saying. But as a killer, I feel like BMing as a killer is more harmful to the game because it's a 1v4. Because you're the only one on your team when you BM, it kind of affects the entire game. So face camping, very frowned upon in the DBD community by survivors and some killers. But also like, end game slugging, and like if someone's the last person alive, leaving them on the ground, waiting for them to bleed out, like that kind of BMing and just like shaking their heads. I feel like that's more like that doesn't need to happen. Just end the game. Like killers have the ability to take the game hostage when survivors do not. So I feel like because of that, it is more acceptable for survivors to. Now saying that as a survivor main, people may think, well, fuck that guy. But I think that because of what I just said, survivors doing small tea bags or and pallet stunning is part of the game anyway. I wouldn't even consider that. Now, teabagging after a pallet stun, that's a different thing. But that's my 2 cents.
I think it's to clarify. I think it's fine to teabag at an exit gate when you're trying to make sure your friend gets to the other one. And like a lot of people say that survivor friends are toxic, and that's its own argument for another day. And of course, like we are a survivor friends group, so I recognize that sometimes it is, and I think sometimes we barely get out because of it. But I digress. Yeah. I think if 4 people are sitting in the exit gate teabagging against an invisible wraith coming up to the exit gate, that's incredibly unnecessary. Because the second he starts uncloaking, all of you are going to run out. And then it was like, why were you even there? Like, why didn't you just run out originally? All 4 of you were safe. Yeah. Like the killer's obviously accepted defeat. The doors are open and everybody's in the door, and he goes to close the hatch or find it, and all 4 people wait until the timer's literally at 1 and they hold the game hostage. I think more often a killer has the potential to, but I see it more with that last survivor sitting inside the exit gate refusing to leave for no reason. And I think that like it makes it harder to get into your next game. Like something we talk about at work a lot is not letting a bad call go into your good call. So like when somebody calls in and they're pissed as hell and they're mad at you, it's really hard to not take that into the next call, even if you pick up the next call and it's somebody who is incredibly sweet and hopeful and like glad that you assisted them, because you just got off of somebody wringing your throat. So like you'll play a game as killer and you'll see 4 survivors teabag, or you'll play a game as survivor and you'll get face camped and tunneled the whole game, and you go into the next game and you don't want to take it out on the next person, but like sometimes you do. Like sometimes you're incredibly disrespectful to somebody and they didn't deserve that. And I think that's another kind of dangerous thing about the contract. That is an interesting point. I think emotions have a lot to play in the social contract. Because some people take those emotions from previous games and then it's just an endless cycle if everybody's toxic. So we've had some really good games on Fog Boys where like killers have like played with us or like played hide and seek with us, or let us get out with them. And I know Jacob did that a few times as killer himself. So I feel like that kind of kindness in the community in DBD games is rare, but I think it's definitely necessary in order to keep the toxicity levels down from game to game. I will say that I know I'm like talking a lot here, so I need to shut the hell up. But like one thing I would like to touch on is like one point I wanted to stress is camping and tunneling, which will be their own video. Probably both of them will be their own video with multiple subpoints videos made, because man, there's so many layers there. But I think it's important to note that I personally think there's a time when it is correct to camp and a time when it's correct to tunnel. And I see that only in from a killer perspective. If I hook somebody and I heard somebody come up behind me when I tried to pick them up to get the flashlight behind, and there's a hook right in front of me, there's no reason for me to barbecue and chili across the map to a generator when I realize that there's somebody next to the hook. So now I'm stuck to that hook until there's proof that I find you, or I see the scratch marks that made you run away. Otherwise, I have no reason to leave because you're going to get that save, and me sitting there puts pressure on that part of the game. Tunneling, kind of a similar situation. I think it's different when you see the guy get unhooked and chase him versus when you hear the unhook, go back, and you only find the injured guy. I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on that. I think that camping and tunneling can be okay, and it shouldn't be included in like part of the contract, because I don't think it's fair to say that like, oh, killers do this, which makes killers bad, and it's all killers' fault. Killers suck. Like, it's not like that. I just think that as survivors, we need to understand there are moments when they do that where it is justified.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes they know. Like, I'm not gonna walk away. It's like, I'm not that dumb. If I know you're there, I'm not gonna be like, oh, maybe they're not. Maybe they left. No, I know you're here.
Gotta go check the mail.
Get that hook now. Like, nah, I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because it's like, I was thinking about this earlier, because I was also trying to do P-Head Adept, and it's like, it's, if you hear somebody behind you, and like you're gonna go look for them when they get put on the hook. If I think I like hooked Enti-tea and there was like a Yui nearby that I knew had snuck around, so it's like, of course I went around trying to find them for a little bit, and eventually saw scratch marks, went off. I wouldn't necessarily consider that camping, because like you're trying to find a survivor there. Additionally too, some games, like if you hook somebody, you leave, they get unhooked, you haven't found a survivor, you come back, and the scratch marks you end up following lead you to the injured survivor that just got off the hook. Yeah, that's technically tunneling. I think that is 100% fair game. I mean, you are a killer, you are trying to kill them, you're not like going out of your way to face camp them, tunnel them, and just go for them. But sometimes stuff happens. And I think survivors don't always realize that, which I think, honestly, they should at least think about that a little more.
A lot of times when I'm killing and I see someone that like just got off the hook and I happen to find them first out of everybody, I'm just like, man, it's not your lucky day, bud. Like, it wasn't my plan to do it. It just happened.
For me,
yeah, it's like, what am I gonna do? Not hit you? I'm a killer. I kill people.
I've never been a rank 1 killer, so I'm not gonna tell anyone how to do their job. But when I find somebody and I'm like tunneling them down, I will down them and not hook them, just so I have that pressure. Just so I have, well, this guy's already been hooked, guys. So if you leave him and I come back and pick him up, then you guys are just like, you're giving me a free kill. So I'm giving you the opportunity to undo what I just did and actually help this guy, because he's down. Like, he's down. He's not doing anything for you. And the longer you make him do that, the harder it's going to be for you guys to get progress. But that's how I play those situations. But once again, not trying to push that ideal on anybody. I just think for me, that's how I justify, like, I'm killer, but I'm a survivor main in that situation. And it's like, well, if I was in this situation, I wouldn't want to get hooked. But if I got downed, I would feel like I had a chance. And I want to make people feel like they have a chance when they're playing against me. And I'm not, like, hopelessly hosing them. Is like, that's one of the things that I've been learning and like had to justify to myself, and why I think a contract is important.
Yeah, I think honestly a lot of that just can be kind of done with, like, the golden rule, do unto others you would have them do unto you. I mean, honestly, a lot of times when I'm a killer, I try and think about that. So like, if I come back and see somebody unhooking another survivor, I'll generally try and go for the other person that is uninjured, because I'm like, hey, I'd hate to be tunneled down. Granted, if that person decides to run right into me and just like sit there and like block for them, yeah, I'm gonna down them. Like, I don't know what you would expect me from that. On the same end of that, camping at the after the last gen has been done, yeah, I'm gonna want that kill, because there's no point in me going to a door, hoping I'm gonna find somebody, and then just losing that kill, because that's more than likely what's gonna end up happening. But I do think of those instances, sometimes killers need to remember, hey, this is a game, people do want to enjoy this. Like, we all work 9 to 5 jobs, we come home and like, we just want to chill, relax for a little bit, have a good time. I don't enjoy getting face camped and tunneled, so Sometimes, yeah, you do end up inadvertently tunneling a survivor. You know, I know some games I'll try and give them a chance, like Jacob was saying, down them, let somebody else pick them up, go chase another survivor. But in the end of it, I do think you should try and do a little give and take with the survivors. You know, if you're a killer, you don't just don't be extremely ruthlessly efficient. You know, think about, hey, there are people on the other end of this screen. These aren't just a bunch of NPCs that I'm downing.
Yeah, that's what makes the game cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So one thing I want to hear y'all's thoughts on is one of the big things you'll hear in anybody's YouTube 101 how to play killer guide is pressure. Like why you don't camp the hook is because now you're letting them get gens done, and why you have to commit to chases because if you keep hitting people without downing them to protect your gens, you're never, once they get those gens done, you're not gonna have any pressure because all 4 are alive, all 4 are healthy now. But kind of that mindset of like pressuring with the contract. To try to explain my thoughts on this a little more clearly and hear your guys' thoughts is that I believe the reason that I want to try to play a lot more fairly as killer is because my automatic thought is once I down somebody, I need to go to a gen. It's like I need to get this person hooked so I can go get them off the gens because the gens are the objective. Which is why I oftentimes, if I see a survivor healing, I actually won't go for them because, like, you know, they probably just got off the hook, we just got out of a chase. Like that person, I'm gonna give them a minute to get their shit together, and I'm gonna go stop the people who are trying to progress the game because that's my goal. My goal is to stop the game and prevent it from happening. On the survivor side with pressuring, it's why you know, you try to grind out that gen before going and getting the save, and you know, your entire team shouldn't be trying to go for those saves. It's not reasonable for me to cross the entire map to get a save. Sometimes you need to stage 2 so that we can get that pressure because we're having a hard time getting a gen done and we know they have pop, and if it's 90% or pop or ruin are in play here, I'm gonna lose this gen if I try to go get you. So really, how does pressuring on either side kind of play into this idea that you need to make concessions for the other side in the game? You know what? Does that make sense? Y'all know what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, I think so. I think honestly, like, that just kind of goes into the whole point. Survivors need to get their objectives done, and killers need to kill. I do believe that you are gonna have to do what you have to do sometimes, within reasonable limits, you know. I think it's important to remember, you know, if you see a survivor that is trying to take you to another end of the map where all the gens have already been completed, it's okay to drop chase with them and go focus on guarding your gens to make sure, you know, the other survivors aren't working on them, because of the fact that, like, that's going to help you progress in the game. Whereas this survivor chasing you and bringing you over to some other end of the map, that's not going to help you progress. You know, flip side for survivors, it does help to have them focus on gen, grind that out, get that done before going to go help a fellow survivor, because sometimes, like you were saying with Ruin, they could just be constantly losing progress, not getting enough gens done.
I think pressure is important in games of like smaller groups of people. So like in a game like Fortnite or like a battle royale game, like pressure doesn't really matter until you're in a like one-on-one firefight or like in a very small team firefight, because then you're trying to figure out like who's doing what. It's a very like tight situation. You want to make sure that you're having, you know, all of your ducks in a row, and if you make one slip up, you could start losing your momentum, and then you know, everything just hits the fan. We had a video a while back where I think Jacob got down in the killer shack, and then 2 of us went to go save him. We both got down. 3 of us ended up in the basement, and then like I Kobe'd to get the hats or something, and it was like we were rolling it, but then, you know, we lost all of our momentum. He had all the pressure, and he ended up getting a 3K. So like, pressure in this game is very important and cannot be like forgotten. Like if you're trying to win, this is like if you're just trying to have fun, like pressure isn't even thought about. But pressure in terms of like trying to get out or trying to get the 4K, you got it.
Yeah, and there's definitely different ways to give pressure too. Like, if you're a killer and you're just guarding the gens the whole time, that is some serious pressure. but also like if you can just have consistently someone be downed a whole like one after the next, then they're always trying to heal, and then they're not getting gens done in the first place. You don't even have to worry about gens. So there's definitely different ways. The same with Survivor. Like you can loop the killer for a super long time while other people do gens, and that's pressure. Or if you know, it depends on what kind of perks you have, but like if you have breakout and you're able to just keep making him drop the Survivor, that's some serious pressure too, because then he can never get a hook. So there's definitely, in addition to just a thought of if pressure's alright or not, it's like there's just so many different ways to apply it.
I think it's important to understand. One of the points I really wanted to stress was we should be able to understand the other side with pressure. So like I need to understand that like I can kick a gen, but if that gen's 90, I need to hug this gen for a second and make sure no one's here. Because if I just kick it and leave, I wasted my time. Like they're gonna get it. All I did was waste them like 2 seconds. But for me, having to cross the map for that gen and then cross the map to go find where I think someone else might be instead of looking around, like that, it's kind of that. Like as a survivor, I need to watch a killer doing that and be like, okay, like I need to stay hidden, and I know he's gonna be here for a minute. And like as a killer, like I need to go push survivors off this gen and let that guy heal himself in the corner, because like I could go get that guy down right now. But like, what am I accomplishing by going after the guy who's already injured? Yeah, I mean, like I'm making him waste time right now rather than do anything. So I would waste my time by going after him. Like, do we, like, do you guys, like, I don't need to like be childish and be like, do you guys understand that? Like, but like, do you guys like, I think that do you guys think the community understands that pressure needs to happen, or do you think that our community in Dead by Daylight needs to learn? Like part of playing the game is understanding when the other side has pressure, like you have to learn how to play around that. Like you don't have, they're not going to make concessions for you. You have to learn how to play around that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's just a big issue with Dead by Daylight a lot, is that people don't really tend to play both sides. A lot of people starting out will just do one or the other, as opposed to like trying both sides out. Because I think the more you play each side, the more you realize some of the issues, some of the challenges with each of them.
Connor, don't add me like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, don't add you like.
Played Survivor until Archives came out. The Archives actually, in a way, got me to play Killer more and actually learn how to enjoy it. So I don't know. The Archives have been good. I think that's probably the best thing they've ever done.
I mean, the last one was ass, but I'm not even gonna lie. My boy Ace, my boy Wraith, standing up right now, flexing a little bit. I'm happy with it.
I dug Last Tome. I also dig
Your
it
opinion's
because
no longer valid. Thank you for coming.
I know. I like Legion deal.
No, you do not. You
Yeah,
did
you
not
thought-
say that to me.
I did. Blame the Archives. It's fun.
James, can you please change his name in the Discord to Poo Poo Baby? Thank you. That's professional.
Poo
I lost power a little bit ago, so I don't have a
Lol.
computer. I switched to my phone.
You know, I saw that phone icon. I didn't want to call you out mid conversation, but now that we're talking about it,
I just heard
Yeah,
your voice.
If Bill talking about, like, Jacob just started talking about pressure, and then everything in my house just turned off.
Jacob went,
So I was like-
pressure, and then it was like,
Yeah, that was when I hooked my car battery up to James's circulator and decided to just fucking blow that place. April Fool. Oh, it's July.
okay.
Oh.
Happy Labor Day. I don't know what's coming up. Leave me
Labor
alone.
Day.
Happy Memorial Day. Don't at me, please.
Hanukkah, July.
Connor already destroyed me by saying people only play one side of the game, and I've never been higher than rank 12 on Killer, even
But
with
also-
the new rank reset.
I also like the Archives because Fang Min's just been the main for so many of them. I'm like, oh yeah.
Every archive has been
rolling.
Fangman featuring 4 other people.
Yeah. I love it as a Fang Min meme.
Yeah, we know. Wait, I mean, I guess, while we're moving to wrap up, were there any other, I guess, thoughts that I may have missed? Do you guys have any other things you'd like to add? Any other thoughts about, like, the social understanding in Dead by Daylight?
I think endgame chat is something that
Ooh, that's bad.
people either take for granted and just skip completely, or go so ham on it that someone will report you because of what you said. Like, endgame chat is the only time that you get to speak to the killer about what happened during the game, like, because there's no like in-game proximity chat at
I
challenge.
wish.
And like, maybe there should be some sort of chat with everybody. I think that would be interesting. I think the thing that DBD needs the most of anything, past archives, past any of these in-game purchases for new cosmetics, is they need to get a different mode of DBD, because it's just the same game but with different tweaks. But if they had different modes, as in like, I don't know, maybe a capture the flag style of game,
That'd be
killer
sick.
versus,
Or even
something that.
teams of survivors and killers, where like one of you guys plays as a killer and the other one plays survivors, and each killer is trying to kill the other survivors, and you're all sharing the map, and like that would be kind of interesting. It would have to have a lot of things worked out, but it would still be fun.
And I don't know how it evolved there from voice chat, but I think that like being able to communicate with the people who you're playing with is huge. And I'm going back to like Call of Duty and Halo days, like you'd be able to do that, and like I feel like people would get a lot more across, and they'd understand a lot more and empathize a lot more. So in the end game chat, when stuff comes up, it's like, oh man, you had a really good pallet stun, which is rarely said, or oh man, like I can't believe you got me with that breakout, GG. That has been said like once. Like I feel like people either take it for granted or they abuse it, and like just throw hate and shade, and then that's where the toxicity comes in.
Yeah, I definitely think in-game chat, like if you got nothing nice to say, just don't say it. Like I do understand like the killers being toxic, like just phase camping, like I understand getting angry about that and adding them about that. But I think if it's been a fair game, you had a good game on both sides, either just say GG or like give a compliment out, because honestly, I personally, just me, I don't understand the wanting to just be toxic to somebody else just to be super toxic. I think this game can be stressful enough to some people without players just making players feel bad about how they played.
I will say that I've definitely got into the in-game chat before. I've been like, hi, like I was playing killer and I got rolled, and I said, hi survivors. I don't mean to say that any of y'all did anything bad, but I don't understand these ranks at all, because I'm a rank 16 killer, and 3 of you are in red ranks. And they said, welcome to Dead by Daylight. And I'm like, guys, I'm a survivor main. And they were just like, oh, you should play more killer. And they weren't mean. I mean, like, yeah, they really, like, they burned me on that one. I did need to play more killer, but like, they were, like sometimes you can really connect with the community just off of like, just some shit. Like one day I decided we were all vibing, and like the entire day I'd be like, yo killer, you vibing? Or yo survivors, you vibing? And like,
I remember
that was such a chill day when like you just start asking people like, how are you actually doing today? And that was really cool. And I think that James is right that like really just bringing up the in-game chat is a part of social contract. Like if you got messed up, yeah, you can say, wow, you really fucked me up there, but like don't be like, wow, you're a trash killer because you stopped my 360 and chainsawed me out a window through another window, like you're garbage. Like, yeah, sure, they're garbage now because you got God, but like that's not true. And sometimes just saying like, dude, you're really good. Like I faced huntresses before and been like, geez, that was a killer. Like even without the whale hitboxes, like they could actually hit a hatchet across the map, and that was crazy. So I think that like using that chat to like build more of that like that social contract in Dead by Daylight, like not as much toxicity, not as much BMing, more trying to actually actively communicate and enjoy the game, like Connor was saying, I think is really important.
Yeah, and last note on that, speaking about Huntress games, if you decide you're gonna flame the killer in chat, choose your words carefully. I've had plenty of survivors flame me in chat, and it honestly, I kind of enjoy the salt a little bit, just kind of enjoy it. I once got a 4K as a Huntress, notoriously probably my worst killer, and was had a survivor complain to me about being an M1 Huntress because I could not hit hatchets, and I would almost always have to M1 people.
Oh no.
Yet I still got a 4K, and they were complaining to me and saying the M1 Huntress is going to be the new meta. Oh, everybody else is playing Huntress wrong, and I'm just like, so So you just realize you're calling yourself a bad survivor because you lost a person who couldn't hit hatchets.
You lost to somebody who wasn't even playing a skill. Like, you were just playing an M1 killer, literally.
love-
by
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah. I love when they're like, "Oh, you're bad." I'm like, "True, but I still got the kill."
Yeah.
Like,
I like the people who just say okay, where it's just like, go fuck yourself, you're a terrible killer. Okay. Like, it's
Oh, yeah.
so tilting. I've definitely said that in the past, but also, like, I've been the guy people have said that to, where they're just like, wow, bet you think you're so good, fucking all purple perks at rank 18, and I'm just like, okay.
yeah, that's
Or
the
just say,
fault
"I
being
do."
thought about that, yeah. Like, know it.
You know, I'm not trying to flex on you, but I do have barbecue and chili and have to lean on it every game, so, you know,
You're not wrong.
you're bad, I'm bad, you know, whatever. You died! Alright, so I think closing thoughts. I think we touched on a lot, and maybe not all of it had to do with like social contract, but as a game, I think it's important that not just us, but everybody recognize that there should be. Whether there is or isn't currently, there should be. Because it's a hard game to play when you're playing by yourself. Well, not even Dead by Daylight, just any game by yourself. It's easy to play that game because there's no social contract, but it's a lot harder to play a game where you're playing against somebody on a team with people. And I think that we need to be coming together as a community and wanting to enjoy this game. And yeah, sometimes you get salty, but like there's a way to like express that you're salty without, you know, using harsh language at the killer. Just saying these hitboxes suck and DBD is terrible. Played a great game, but man, what a bug. That happens. Don't tell them. Don't take it out on them that you didn't have a great game. Is one important thing. But I think that whether there is or not right now, I think there should be one as we move into the future.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's whether you like it or not, whether you're just killer main or solo survivor, whatever. DBD is still a social interaction. You cannot play DBD non-socially. That is literally impossible. And I think you should set your some standards for yourself and for other players.
Yeah, I think the same thing as I said at the beginning. Like, just don't be a dick. Just like have fun with it and chill. Like, have a great
Totally
time.
agree.
Yeah, but Evan, some people only have fun when they're being a dick. And I think that's the problem.
Find a way to have fun without being mean.
Evan, I can't do that.
Take your turn. Be a dick one game and don't be a dick the next game. No, I'm kidding. Don't
There
do
you go.
that.
Compromise. It'll get
No.
us there.
No, James, I think you're right, but like I think it's fair to say you can cut off like we were talking about earlier. There's tasteful BMing. When somebody is BMs you the whole game, it's tasteful to give it back. I think that's fair.
Oh
So,
yeah.
To those people, like yeah, don't be a dick. But if they're a dick, guess what? Me and my boys, we rolling up on you. You about to get rolled. Is my thought on that. But
Yeah, I agree.
I will say, I think that's gonna do it for this one, everybody. We really would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you think there's things we didn't talk about, or there's other issues in the community you'd like for us to address, or questions you even like for us to answer, we'd love to tackle them. We recognize we're a small channel, but we're hoping that, you know, with some support, and if you guys want to drop a sub, drop a like, drop a comment, of course, like I keep saying.
Or throw it upwards. I'm up high.
Yeah,
I'm up high.
please.
Put it west.
Free throw that
Let-
shit.
Yeah.
Foul
West
shot.
for
360 a sub.
360 can violation your subs, please. But anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Thank you guys for listening and stopping by, and we will see you guys in the fog. Have a great day.